"You can't park that here." That was the first thing she ever said to me. Not hello, not good morning, just that. I remember because I was still in uniform, keys in my hand, the engine ticking as it cooled. The sun was barely up, mist still clinging to the pines behind my townhouse. I'd just come off a 12-hour night shift. My feet hurt, my head was buzzing. All I wanted was coffee and silence. I looked at her, standing on the sidewalk with a clipboard hugged to her chest like a shield. "It's my driveway," I said. She smiled, tight and practiced. "It's an HOA-regulated property. Emergency vehicles aren't permitted to be parked overnight." I stared at my squad car, then at her, then back at my driveway. "I live here." She tilted her head. "Rules are rules." That should have been my warning. But I didn't move here to fight anyone. I moved here because I wanted quiet. After 15 years on the force, gang units, night patrol, too many calls that end with you holding someone while they bleed, I was done with noise, done with chaos. This place was supposed to be a soft landing, small development tucked up against a wooded preserve, narrow streets, identical townhomes, trimmed hedges, the kind of place where nothing really happens. My routines were simple. Morning coffee on the back porch, listening to the birds instead of sirens, evening runs on the trail behind the houses, weekends fixing small things around the place, pretending I knew how to garden. I kept to myself. Most folks appreciated that, except the HOA board. At first, it was little things. A note on my door about trash cans being visible too long after pickup, a warning about unauthorized vehicle decals on my car, a reminder that exterior lights must be soft white, not cool LED. Always polite, always official, always her. Marcy Whitfield, president of the board. She was in her late 40s, maybe early 50s, hair always perfect, clothes always pressed. She had that look like she'd practiced smiling in a mirror and perfected the version that made people uncomfortable without knowing why. I tried to comply, I really did. Moved the trash cans faster, swapped out the porch bulb, started parking my car on the street instead of the driveway. But then came the towing notice. A bright orange sticker slapped on my windshield. Unauthorized vehicle, subject to immediate tow. I took it to the next HOA meeting. "I'm law enforcement," I said, keeping my voice even. "This is my assigned vehicle. I'm on call. I need access." Marcy folded her hands. "We respect your profession, truly, but the rules are for everyone." A man beside her cleared his throat. "You could always park at the precinct and drive your personal car home." I laughed before I could stop myself, not because it was funny, because it was absurd. "I respond directly from home sometimes. That's part of the job." Marcy smiled again. "Then perhaps this community isn't the right fit for you." Something in her tone told me that wasn't a suggestion. A week later, I came off another long shift, parked on the street like they wanted. By morning, my car was gone. No note, no warning, just empty pavement and the imprint of tires in the dust. When I called the tow company, they already knew my name. HOA board request. The vehicle was listed as non-compliant. I stood there in my driveway, phone pressed to my ear, pulse climbing. "This wasn't a misunderstanding," I said quietly. "No, sir. This was intentional." And I finally understood that Marcy wasn't enforcing rules. She was making an example. If you like the video, please subscribe. I paid the towing fee, out of pocket. Didn't make a scene. I went back to the board, filed a formal complaint, requested written clarification on vehicle policy. They denied it. Then the fines started. Parking violations, landscaping violations, noise complaints on nights I wasn't even home. I appealed every one, documented everything, dates, times, photos. Didn't matter. At the next HOA meeting, Marcy read out a list of repeat offenders, My name was at the top. People started avoiding me after that. Neighbors who used to wave suddenly looked away. A woman I'd helped jump her car wouldn't meet my eyes. Someone posted on the community Facebook page about a resident who thinks rules don't apply because of his job. Rumors spread fast in quiet places. I went from being the guy who kept to himself to the problem everyone whispered about. I tried again. Calm, professional, met with Marcy privately. "I'm not trying to cause trouble," I said. "I just want to live here peacefully like everyone else." She leaned back in her chair. "Then stop acting like you're above the rules." "I'm not." Her eyes flicked to my uniform. "Looks like you think you are." That's when I realized this wasn't about parking. This was about power. And she had more of it than she should have. The turning point came when I pulled HOA financial records, public documents, easy to access if you know where to look. I wasn't even hunting for corruption at first, just wanted to see where all the fine money was going. But patterns started to show. Contracts awarded to companies owned by board members' relatives, maintenance fees paid for work that never happened, large consulting expenses with no clear purpose. I ran the names through our internal database. 2 had prior fraud charges. 1 had a suspended contractor's license. Marcy's brother owned the towing company. That one made my jaw tighten. I didn't confront them. I started recording. Dashcam facing my driveway, doorbell camera, screenshots of online posts, copies of every fine notice and email. I talked to a friend in internal affairs, off the record. "Does this cross into criminal?" I asked. He flipped through the documents, quiet. "Yeah," he said finally, "but you'll need more." That was when things got worse. They sent me a certified letter stating I was in violation of community harmony standards. They were moving to place a lien on my property. Then came the real hit. I came home one afternoon to a red notice on my door, notice of foreclosure proceedings. I stood there for a long time, reading it over and over. I hadn't missed a mortgage payment, but unpaid HOA fines can legally trigger foreclosure. They knew that. That night, I sat in my living room in the dark. No TV, no music, just the hum of the refrigerator and the weight of it all pressing down. For the first time since this started, I felt tired in a way sleep doesn't fix. Maybe they really were going to win. I packed a bag, just essentials, stayed at my sister's place across town for a few nights while I figured out my next move. People thought I'd left. Marcy posted on the HOA page that the disruptive resident has vacated the property. She sounded proud. That was the sacrifice, letting them believe they'd beaten me. Because while I was gone, something else was happening. Internal Affairs opened an official investigation. City code enforcement started reviewing HOA practices, and I was working with the department's legal team to build a case. We weren't just going after fines. We were going after fraud, extortion, abuse of authority. I wasn't the victim anymore. I was bait. I moved back in quietly, didn't tell anyone, didn't park my squad car anywhere near the house. Marcy assumed I was packing up, trying to salvage what I could. She got bold, sent me an email offering to resolve matters privately if I signed over my voting rights and agreed to sell the property to one of the board members' investment groups. That email went straight into evidence. Then she made the mistake that sealed it. She authorized another tow, this time not of my squad car, of my personal vehicle, parked legally with a valid permit and on camera. I stood in my living room watching the live feed on my laptop as the truck hooked it up. Marcy was there, pointing, directing. I grabbed my jacket and drove over in an unmarked unit, pulled up just as the tow truck started to roll. I stepped out. "Drop the vehicle." The driver froze. Marcy spun around. Her face went pale for just a second, Then she recovered. "You're trespassing," she snapped. "This is HOA business." "Actually," I said, "this is now a criminal investigation." She laughed, short and sharp. "You don't have the authority." That's when the other cars arrived. Internal affairs, city inspectors, uniformed patrol units. All quiet, all professional. No sirens, no shouting, just doors opening, radios clicking, badges visible. Marcy's mouth opened, then closed. An officer approached her. "Ma'am, we need you to step aside." "This is ridiculous," she said. "You can't just—" Another officer spoke. "We have warrants to review financial records and seize electronic devices belonging to the HOA board." Her clipboard hit the pavement. One by one, the board members were escorted out of their homes, some in slippers, one still in a bathrobe. Neighbors gathered on porches, confused and silent. No cheering, just realization settling in. Later, the charges were made public. Fraud, kickbacks, illegal liens, extortion. The towing contracts alone were enough to bury them. Marcy was charged as the organizer. She avoided eye contact when they put her in the back of the cruiser. I didn't feel triumph. I felt quiet again. In the weeks that followed, the HOA was dissolved and replaced with city oversight. Fines were reversed, liens were lifted, refunds issued. Neighbors started talking to me again. Some apologized, some just nodded, embarrassed. I didn't hold it against them. Fear makes people choose the safest side. I went back to my routines. Morning coffee, evening runs, silence finally earned. One night, I parked my squad car in my own driveway again. No notes, no stickers, no threats. Just the sound of the engine cooling and the wind in the trees. Funny thing is, I never wanted to fight anyone. I just wanted to be left alone. But sometimes standing your ground isn't about anger, it's about dignity. About not letting people who abuse tiny scraps of power convince you that you deserve to be pushed around. So if you're listening to this and you've ever been targeted by someone who thought you were an easy mark, I want to know, did you stay quiet or did you find your moment to push back? Either way, your story matters.